Greetings, blessings, salutations, and love. Welcome back, brothers and sisters, to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott. It is the weekend energy. It's the weekend energy that I'm feeling. Maybe it's the full moon energy still coursing. I don't know. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling real good, brothers and sisters. And I want to thank all of you who have already joined. Some of the wisdom already being shared, man. As sand through an hourglass, these are the days of our lives. And you know what? Amen. I love my thumbnails. Thank you for noticing them. Man, this life is truly an amazing adventure. And Sterling Ray, yes, suffering will only stop when you awaken to your true being. That one is right in line with what I want to talk about today. And part of my inspiration today, as I was coming, sitting down and getting prepared to get this started, some of my inspiration today was that I got a little bit of clarity. I know who I'm speaking to today. I'm speaking to those of you who have been here with me, offering encouragement and maybe receiving some encouragement. I'm here for you who are finding the value in what you're receiving, okay? And knowing that helps me feel a little better. As I'm speaking this through, I just realized I forgot to do a little bit of homework I wanted to do. The definition of virtue. That's the thought that's in my mind today. See, because I went outside earlier and shared my moments of peace, found my moments of peace, created my moments of peace. And then I appreciated my moments of peace earlier today outside in nature. And you don't have to go far to find nature, dude. Just leave the confines of a building. Outside. It's nature. Life is happening everywhere. And that's where I realized in my peaceful moment. I've been kind of accepting the possibilities of my path, and at the same time finding humility in my arrogance with the thought that I believed that I knew my path. The path I believe that we are all on at this time, brothers and sisters, we are all on this path of awakening. To come forth, to bring forth the realization of what is true. Not what the neighbor said, not what the news said, but what is true. It's time for each of us, all of us, to fall in love with living. Because that's what I've been doing for myself, brothers and sisters, and I'm encouraging you. If you can accept the concepts I'm speaking, yes, my life is different, obviously, obviously my life is different than yours, and yours is different than everybody else's. But if you can take these concepts that I found helpful for me and apply them into your own days and into your own future journey as yourself through time, the gift of loving oneself purely, truly, honestly, unconditionally. The gift of loving oneself, oh my gosh, you almost feel divine. So I haven't got to the thoughts completely, but welcome, Brother Snafu. How are you, my friend?
Mr. Talcott of Talcottia, how are you? I wanted to get more into, because we couldn't do it on pause, I wanted to know what your reaction was to the video I sent you, because that was all done for peace and stopping wars. And I think, like you said, the mind, and I don't know if you want to share a little of it with the people or not. I put the link again in the thing, but I sent that to you, Jack, because I know where you stand, and many people stand on your path with you. And I thought it would be an inspiration for you, and maybe a learning moment of like what others are doing or what they've done, or why we, like, they don't feel like, when, even if they feel like there's nothing that can be done, they made personal choices for protest, so to speak. And I just was blown away because it was all for stopping war and peace. And I was like, oh, this is perfect for Talcott. And so I sent him a video of this Indian guy that protested wars by putting his hand in the air for 49 years plus. And I kind of was wondering what your thoughts were. You kind of went in a little over at Paul's, but this is your show. So I think it inspired you a little, because you said yourself, like, wow, I realized I was a pussy, but you're not a pussy. You're standing up. But I'm just saying, there are people out there with the same mentality that you have, and they're doing it their way, so to speak. So.
This video that Snafu's talking about, I dropped it in the chat there. It is an interesting video about someone who's truly devoted to their cause, their belief. What Snafu's talking about, the example was one of several, but the man raised his arm for world peace, for peace, as a sign of protest. And he's had his arm raised for 49 years as his, body atrophied and decayed, died. But human beings, when they put their minds to something, man, there's nothing that... I was thinking about this earlier. It is through the power of human will that nature, the forces of nature, are actually overcome. The divine forces. We can influence and bring change in so many different ways, but the main masses have been brainwashed. So what I was inspired, the messages I received from those, Snafu, and welcome, Nachiketa. Thank you for your patience. What I received from that story and the others was the power and the will of humans, and the fact that there are, I claimed to be, this was the honest self-reflection I went through myself. I claimed to be on a path for peace. I claim to be on a path of spirituality. And yet yesterday, the same time, I'm allowing these friggin' irritations from nicotine withdrawals bother me. What the fuck is that? So I recognized my path is not theirs, but I can learn from and admire from those who have been stronger than me.
Thanks for having me,
Mr. Nacho.
Snafu, what's up? How's it going?
Welcome, brother.
So what do you think, Snafu, about that video about a guy who's has raised his hand and kept it up for 40 some years to protest against war?
I sent it to Jack for a few reasons. I sent it to Jack to show him that there were people on his side, of course, but to the extreme. I also know he was going through his withdrawals with nicotine and things like that. And so the human mind, I wanted him to know, like, the human mind could overcome anything. And because he's so on the whole stop and war and peace, I was like, look at this dude. His arm's rotting off, and kept it there because, he again, the human mind was set. This man was like Jack. He wanted to stop wars, but couldn't get in the places to do it. Picking his hand up. Now, do I think it?
Snafu, you're breaking
attention
up.
And
is it me or is it Snafu? I can't hear you very well.
Yeah, Snafu, your audio is breaking. Let's let Nachiketa. Welcome, brother.
Thanks for having me on. I don't know. I mean, I mean, there are so many of these type of cases. It's not, unique, and there's a lot of them in India of people doing very extreme things to, I don't know. And I'm not entirely sure if it's necessarily about protesting. I mean, you can say, well, it's about maybe human rights or something like that. But people are doing crazy things, and I think it's a little bit masochistic in a way to keep your hand up and have it rot away for a number of years. And I mean, it's hands are pretty useful, as far as I'm concerned. And so, if God gave you a hand, I don't know if you should, just voluntarily get rid of it like that. But hey, whatever, to each their own, right?
Well, actually, some of the other examples in that video, Nachiketa, were some of the Indians who committed themselves to these, standing on one leg for several years. And I've heard of many people doing those things for the purpose of, as I understand, the purpose of overcoming the mind and body. If that's the purpose, I can kind of get it. I've tried pushing my limits myself in different ways to challenge my mind, my ability to withstand.
It's kind of like mind control type things. We can't, it's like, I don't think any of us could comprehend the battle, whether we agree with it or not. I agree with you, Nachiketa, but again, this is so rooted in these people's beliefs that they do these things to an extreme, like you said, because of their beliefs and morals. But what makes it more intriguing is, like you said, the mind versus the body, and what humans can put themselves to if they want to. Now, do we agree if that's the right way or not? But to me, it's an example of, just like Jack said, the mind is so powerful. Like it's not even funny.
It's truly, well, there's a spiritual battle, and there is an essence, a spirit to us, to all things that is life. And there's a spiritual battle between the energies of positive and negative, light and dark. And those energies, those battles are conducted within our mind, because mind is the all. So learn to master your mind and find the stillness within. Then you create the freedom for yourself to break free from what you used to be and grow into something more. And this is, if you'll allow, this is kind of where the topic was going, was for the inner spirit and the disease of selfishness. I tried to I didn't do my homework in preparation for today, but yesterday I was listening to a different stream and someone quoted some passages out of the Bible talking about the end days, how people will love themselves more than anything. They'll love money and wealth and won't care about what is true. This is where we're at. We're in the disease of selfishness has been rewarded in our economic structures. And through the disease of selfishness, it's been spread throughout all the masses. And so all the masses don't realize it. There's like been profitable confusion that's been spread. And so fear and panic, it's like, all right, there's a lot of chaos and problems in the world. There's a lot of negativity that can get within us, and it can kind of consume us. Fear and anger, resentment and hate, all those negative energies, man, they're not good for us. They're not good for us internally, and they're not good for our neighbors. They're not good for anyone else. So it's up to each of us individually to overcome the disease of selfishness, to truly, where was this? Oh, Shunyamurti, I was listening to him again today, and this is where some of this was inspired. Do you want to know God in this lifetime? Do you? That's a question each of us can and should be asking for ourselves. Do you want to know God in this lifetime? Do I want to know God in this lifetime? And when I heard Shunyamurti say these words, I was like, holy shit, that is what happened with me. My path was different, but this is the conclusion that I went through, is I chose to want to know God. And in order to do so, when I started making thoughts like that, Shunyamurti, if you want to know God in this life, raise your worth. Shape your worth through worship. Worship shapes your worth. Giving time and attention, thought, the power of energy, the power of desire to want to know. The thought I had today outside in the peace, in the sun, is that what if, right? We are here for our souls to grow, to become more virtuous, more pure. Each of us face our own fears, our own challenges, our own temptations. But if we start paying attention to each other, and especially paying attention to ourselves, and asking ourselves each day, what might, because we don't know, what might God want me to do today? We don't know unless we ask.
Jack, I want to ask you a question. So there are many points that you're talking about, but this. So like you talk about selfishness, right? And maybe everybody can agree that being selfish is not a good thing. I'm going to play a little bit of a devil's advocate, but like you can admit that, I think we can all admit that everybody is selfish to a degree, and not everybody here is absolutely altruistic, right? So your desire for humanity in general to be quote unquote less selfish. I mean, like a couple things. Like one, we have to address what's wrong with selfishness, right? And what that brings to what's wrong with that. Just to play devil's advocate, so you have to kind of try to explain to us, what the problem is there, and then what are the steps, or one has to take to get to the point where is there like a line where it's okay at this level of unselfishness that this is like what we're striving for, right? Or is it just the absolute like altruism? We'll just give everything up for everybody else kind of deal.
I love those questions, and thank you.
I kind of agree with Nacho, because I think it's the yin and the yang. I don't necessarily. I don't think selfishness.
You're not going to be disrespecting me here by calling me Nacho, and I'm not going to communicate with you if you continue to do that.
All right, well, Nacho, Nachiketa, Nachiketa, Nacho. The fact is, Nacho, quit getting in your fucking feelings, you simp.
No. Okay, thank you.
Hey, Nachiketa, thank you for correcting that. And I'm sorry I didn't correct it sooner. Snafu,
it's not your fault. It's not your fault.
I'm striving to improve. I appreciate that. I appreciate your understanding. Snafu, please. We can offer.
I'm more than. Hey, Wait a minute. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with Snafu, and that's the way he presents himself here. But he is intentionally putting me down, which I mean, like, I'm not butthurt by it. It's just that, if you want to have, I can call him names though too. But where is it going to get us?
Thank you. I agree, and I understand your willingness, Snafu. With all due respect, okay, I was actually trying to get to a response of what he was just saying anyway. regarding the downsides of selfishness, why I call it it's a disease. Obviously, there is some good in being self-caring enough, being selfish enough to continue to sustain oneself. Obviously, there's benefit in that. But in anything we do, we should ask ourselves why. If it's only for ourselves to continue, then why? Why?
Well, I mean, these are good questions, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
like, so we have to define terms, and obviously you say, well, we need to be less selfish, which I probably agree with you. You know, in the whole of humanity, you know, you have well, less than 1% of the population that own more than 80% of the, you know, stuff that's in the world, and they don't need it. So, like, you know, why don't they see it, you know, in the perspective of everybody else, you know, right, et cetera, right? So, like, how are you going to be able to convince them? Yeah, go ahead.
Here's something I want. You might be a perfect one to ask this, because I think you consider the note I made regarding selfishness. There's a lot of reasons when we become selfish, when we feel a lack, when we feel like there's something to protect, or we need more. So we become selfish when we feel a lack. The lack is an insecurity. The insecurity, when we focus on insecurities and what we lack, well, then the fears start to build. And through the fears, and then there's resentment and hate and envy and all this other nonsense that happens. And all of these thoughts of insecurity and lack and self-preservation, I got to protect myself and prepare myself against enemies, foreign and domestic and imagined. You know, when we spend all our time on that, we are blind to the opportunities of growth. We'll see opportunities of growth as a risk. You know, I can't risk even thinking of that. It's like, well, you're risking learning by not thinking. So the conclusion, though, I believe that selfishness does blind us from the good, because we'll miss seeing the other things around us to be grateful for. And the thought I had, though, is don't be selfish. What I encourage, don't be selfish with your beliefs. Become willing to let go of old beliefs, of old anger, old fears. Allow those things to fall away. Stop being selfish with memories. Holding space, spending time on memories, it prevents new inspirations from forming. I hope this makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a deep topic in general, but I tend to believe that, you know, people have varying degrees of selfishness, you can say, and they are selfish for different reasons. Some people are very much concerned about their sense gratifications, right? And you know, they lust after things, or you know, they like to get involved in little indulgences, right? And there's always a cost to everything that we do. Okay, whether you drink a little bit or smoke a little bit or whatever, and you have to eat, right? So there are basic needs that people want to have, and also, you know, basic comforts, and then sometimes a little bit more, right? And you know, when people start to go in that direction, you know, they don't really want to move to a lower level of standard. They want to maintain their level of standard, or experience something even better. Now, there's always this kind of like I don't know, notion of keeping up with the Joneses, or the desire to, like, hey, what would it be like to have my own yacht, as an example? That's an experience, and if that is within your means, you may not be able to buy like a, you know, 100-foot yacht, but you'll be able to afford like a 50-foot yacht, so you do so. just to have that experience, right? So some people can look at that and say, well, that person is being quite selfish. They're not really caring about the starving people in third world countries, or, maybe that money could have been better spent somewhere else, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, this is part of the, I have no disagreements with anything you said, but it's part of what I hope to kind of overcome is the status, the brainwashing we've all suffered regarding placing status on property, on acquisition, on wealth. Those seriously should be like a low on the value system compared to those who actually have knowledge and care and understanding to share. We live in a world that has been corrupted. The scriptures, the Bible, I think really people need to start at least glancing through and considering some of the words talked about in there. It's worthy of some investigation and consideration, considering the book has been around for quite a while. People have died for it to be produced.
Do you think it's all bad?
Shared.
Do you?
The Bible?
Yeah. There's definitely some contradictions in there. I mean, there's some things that are, definitely going to raise some eyebrows and such, but I try to, take the good and the bad, and nobody wants to be accused of throwing the baby out with the bathwater type of deal, right?
That's just it. There's a commonality between each of the religions, and I think there is something special about the story of the Christ. So I think, these are examples for all of us to learn from. In our common day society, the entertainment, pop culture, and the fear porn news media, those don't really discuss much about the soul or maybe honor or virtue. Because I was thinking earlier, there's life.
What
is
does
a
virtue
dance.
mean? What does virtue mean to you?
That was the question. That was the thing I meant to look up before
You were talking about that initially, that you wanted to talk about virtue. So what does it mean to you?
That which is honorable, that which, here it says, behavior showing high moral standards.
Okay.
We
can agree with those definitions, but let's dive deeper into, what does that, how does that express itself? Do you have virtuous qualities? Let's just say. I'm not saying that you don't, but and if you do, what commonalities do they have with one another?
The thought I had regarding the word virtue today was it started out far before that. I was sitting there in the stillness, becoming one with the moment. As I was one within myself, I opened my eyes to see what I'm one with around me, and I saw leaves just blowing in the wind, dancing in the wind. And I came to realize that it is the eternal dance of life and time. The duo together, time and life together, has brought us forth, all of us, this entire civilization, all this technology, who we are. The eternal dance of life and time brought us forth into being today. And so then I was thinking, okay, so if in fact we are in this experience to refine and improve our character, to bring more virtue to our soul, it makes sense that we were born into a world of suffering. Because for there to be virtue, for you to be able to show high moral standards, there has to be corruption and suffering and confusion. That stuff has to be there. So there's a lot of pain and suffering and war, and I don't know, if we play this game of life like like an adventure, we start thinking about what might we be able to accomplish if we came together.
If I may try to bring you back into the focus of the initial conversation, I think I kind of got lost a little bit in your explanation. So, like initially, like I'm looking at Google right now, and then we're looking up at the word virtue. It says moral excellence and righteousness, goodness. An example of kind of moral excellence, chastity, especially in a woman. These are some of the definitions of virtue, right? And so then the question may arise is, okay, moral excellence, how, like morality is another, philosophical question about what is morality, right? What are the conditions of having a moral excellence? Like to me, virtue is a kind of like not only having honor in my personal definition, but actually following through, even if everything is stacked against you, right? You just do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. Now, that's not easy. And, there's a lot of things that we may benefit from not being virtuous, especially these days, right?
That's exactly what I want to address, brother, is there is a lot of temptation and excuses for people to not be honorable, to not be honest, to not be courageous. So if we change the value system, we change the way we start treating each other, we can change a lot of things in this world. Welcome, Jesse.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Nachiketa.
So here,
There's a little bit of a background noise coming from Jess, but I want to hear your perspective, Jack, please.
Well, on virtues, it's that which gives us, it's just what it says. The attitudes, dispositions, the character traits that we possess, right? Honesty, courage, compassion, generosity, fidelity, integrity, fairness, self-control, prudence. These things are easier accomplished when you have faith in a greater purpose. If we can recognize, if you think you're only here to serve yourself and those very few people you've met, your mind is a little short-sighted, because we're here to expand and grow into the greatest versions that we can. And virtue, honor, without virtue, without honor, without gratitude, respect, there's no love. And love is who we are. So to come back to the topic of selfishness as opposed to virtue, we won't know. Nachiketa, you said something I agreed, is doing what's right at the time it's right. We don't know what we're going to do until the moment or choice actually happens.
Well, life always provides you with opportunities to be able to see for yourself how you're going to decide. It will give you difficult circumstances, and based on those difficult circumstances, you're going to have to make hard choices, and some of those choices are not going to be quote unquote beneficial. For example, like during the Bolshevik times, people were rewarded for snitching out their neighbors for, let's say, being a Christian, right? And some people did, a lot of people did, and that can also be the case in America. Now, is that virtuous? Maybe in those people's perspective, it's like, well, it's legal and I'm getting rewarded for it, and I'm saving society from other people by snitching them out, and that's a virtuous act. So it gets lost in the kind of the definition of things. But of course, I think the people here would disagree that that is a virtuous act of snitching out your neighbor for some silver, right?
Right. excuses, those are not virtuous. That's and the excuse of money has kept humanity divided and at war for a long time. Money, resources, land, power. We don't have to participate and continue this, but I don't think we should just pretend it's not happening either.
Yeah, I would argue that at least in my experience. So I'm not going to claim that this is universal, but at least in my experience, that there are people who are very much involved with like the financial thing and societal aspect of things, and some people who are a little bit removed. But I don't think anybody is like a like completely hermetically sealed like island that is completely removed. Some people are a little bit more involved and other people are a little bit less involved, right? But you can't, it's hard to completely get away from the system because most everybody have to deal with money, in general, right? Like you still have to buy food and pay rent and whatever like that, the cost of living that is, but you're going to need to have quote unquote money or currency to be able to do that. And already by that default that you're already kind of wrapped into the system. So it's hard to voluntarily completely exit out unless you're completely self-sufficient and you require no electricity from anybody else and no services from anybody else, and you can like live that way, and very, very few people can.
Do you want to know anything different?
Yeah, I mean, of course. So we're just having a conversation. I'm not here to challenge you about that, but go ahead.
No, I appreciate that.
I just see the change in the mood.
Well,
I can see.
It's the for me, I truly don't understand the complication in what I'm suggesting. What in the examples you gave, under the current system, you either conform and comply in some fashion, or you deviate some method of your escape where you are completely self-sufficient and detached from the rest of reality. There's other options. We can start sharing resources, time and energy, talent with each other.
I agree with that. No, I mean, I'm in agreement with you about that.
Thank you.
But go ahead.
Well, this is what I'm actually proposing that we start doing, and I don't know why there's been so much confusion. It is coming up almost a year of this now. I've been trying to explain these things.
Yeah. So I agree with you that these are other things that we can do. We can share time, like our expertise and our energies, our resources with people. But what is the foundation of being able to share those things with anybody? What do you think?
The desire.
There's the willingness that has to be there. But what inspires the willingness to want to share with anybody? Like, let's say, whether it's your partner or your family or your friends or some quote unquote stranger on the metaverse, like what inspires that? I would say trust, right? Being able to trust one another. Would you say that's a foundational, thing between people before I can interact with you? And that's also, you can say it's part of business though too. Like people write contracts with each other and they can, create trust with one another because they know that like to go against the contract is going to be a minus for both parties, etc. So that's why people behave the way they do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. For people to share, they've at least got to trust in themselves enough that they can part with what they're offering. And this is what is so peculiar, is people are so convinced they don't even have time to share with each other, at least in my life. And it's like very peculiar species that humanity has grown into. And I suggest that this is the result of a species with consciousness that has not found ways to fall in love with what is true. Because what is true is divine. What is true is perfect. And it's the perfection, the layers of time and energy. I mean, from the subtleties of energetic powers of light and and time, the power, the unstoppable force of time. Here we are. We know for a fact that there is corruption that has been widespread and historically repeated patterns throughout human history. It's happened before. It's happening now. There's signs that many people are falling under the mindset of mass formation. It's a collective delusion. It is literally insanity, brothers and sisters. So yesterday there was what's the call to action? The call to action is we start waking each other up. Hey, brothers and sisters, you're here today, okay? You are loved. I love you. Someone else loves you. You can start loving yourself a little bit more, all right? Everyone can find more love within themselves. For some reason, find a fucking excuse to be grateful for the people you don't like. And then let's find a way to work together with them to create a more peaceful future for everyone. I mean, if you see people battling with addiction, battling with depression, battling with anxiety, give them some time, attention, and care. Show some compassion for the love of God. This life does not have to feel lonely, okay? We don't have to punish each other for our past mistakes, our distrust. Sorry, Nachi, you were...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did it slip? I don't know. I just think I spent a lot of years in this life without faith. I was afraid of making the wrong choices. I was afraid of taking risks, of doing things wrong. And it was not a good way to live. So, brothers and sisters, if you can find joy in your life, find reasons to be grateful today. Because if you feel grateful today, people who are happy, they're more likely to be generous, to be kind, right? And it's up to you to create your own happiness in your life. It's up to each of us to find and create our path. And virtue, I said this earlier, I think virtue, the song of virtue, the song that our souls sing is the melody of virtue. So what does that sound like? Well, every tone, every energy is going to have a different ring, but we know what is honorable. We know what is righteous when the choice is in front of us.
For me, that part of my exercise of like being here or being on these panels is trying to meet people, where we can meet. It's like I know you're coming from a. Go ahead. Sorry, Joe.
No, I was just saying I understand. No, I was just saying I understand. Calm down. Go ahead.
No, I don't know what you're saying, but so my point is that like for me, like initially we were talking about trust, and trust is an important factor. Like in order for me to trust other people, I have to understand that they're sound in their presentment, and they're like and of course we're going to have different standards and stuff like this. And I agree with you. There are a lot of traumas that people are dealing with in general, all kinds. And then that's why we have different personality disorders that people have to deal with. And we should share our time and energy to lift each other up. But, we have to also put in the effort ourselves to be better individuals through discipline. But, that's two sides of the same coin to me.
The virtue stuff you were talking about, Nachi. Go ahead.
I think Jack wants to say something, so okay. Go ahead.
There was something, and I'm sorry, I was trying to figure out what was forming there. The judgment. Whose standards? Who is one to judge? So that was my initial reaction. Okay, and then I remember that's right. I did think beyond that. We can judge the facts. Okay, you're right. Some people have patterns that show they're fucking liars. They're two-faced, backstabbing manipulators. Don't trust. Don't rely entirely on what they say. I would say judge the facts, not the being. This society teaches us to judge the person.
Agreed.
And then we either ignore or just blindly accept what they say.
Or we ignore what they say because we think little of them. If we admire them, we just accept it blindly. If we don't admire them, we assume whatever they're saying is worthless.
Mob mentality.
We have to go by the facts. Have to.
That's what each of us has to be able to learn to do. But here's what I believe. We become reluctant to trust the facts when we've been lying to ourselves about something. Okay? If you're lying to yourself, you're going to believe that you live in a world of liars. And if you are lying to yourself about something, you're not going to have the willingness to extend trust because you can't be trusted. So
do you agree, Jack, that people are different from one moment to another, and they can be different from day to day, but over a period of time, people do exhibit a kind of pattern of, thought process or behavior, right?
I agree. Yeah.
Yes, these thought processes come from structures of beliefs, and the behavior, it's indicative of their desires and beliefs. Well, these are the enemies in high places. We don't battle with flesh and blood. The brother or sister carrying these demons, these ignorant and evil thoughts, they're not the enemy, but they are out of control. And it's the pattern.
They're lost.
Amen.
They're not out of control. They're lost.
Amen. Thank you. There's a lot of confused people, and the conclusions I came to earlier. Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
I wanted to address you, actually, not to change the subject, but I went out yesterday, met someone in the community, acted with this fluoridation, establishing connections. So I'm taking actions, all right? I'm not just willy-nilly.
You did the fluoride shit yesterday after we talked?
Yeah.
Very, very good. Yeah. Very, very good. Very good. Well, we'll talk about it later or now.
Yeah. I've invited them, anyone who's active with them, to join, and I'm pursuing connections with people. Trying to figure out what's going on.
Hey man, I'm just happy getting out going. Hub, what's good, baby? I'm just happy that you went out and did it, and you're doing it so fucking fast. Like, yeah, I'll shut that motherfucker up. I love that, right? I'll go do it today. You doubt me, motherfucker? I'll go out today. I like that.
Joe, I said I would, and actually, when I started streaming, I had the intentions open. I'm flowing with this. I'm fully content to shut it down at early. Because there's stuff going on downtown. Stuff going on downtown means opportunities for me to network, to be reintroduced to people here in town. So my mind is going that direction. J-Hub, welcome, brother.
One of my favorite sayings is no time like the present. So when you think of something, just get it done, because if you don't, there's a chance that you're not going to do it.
I agree. Or forget or something. Yeah.
Hey, I want to know why Nachi didn't fucking yell at you for calling him Nachi. So are we Nachi, Nacho, Nachiketa? No, it's a big issue, Nacho. Like, you never made an issue until now, and then you cried to Jack like a baby.
Okay,
so I want to
stop.
make sure I pronounce your name right so you're not offended. No, you know, because
No,
what's funny is I didn't come in here
second.
trying to offend your ass, but you showed your guru baby optics. I literally was being respectful. I was like, no,
I'm not
Nacho's
a-
right. And then
no, I don't
and I've
think
never
so.
once ever heard you cry about it. So no, we need to know how to
Snafu.
pronounce your name so none of us fuck it up, dude.
Snafu.
Relax. So like nacho is fine, but like when you say nacho, we all understand that the nacho is food, and it's just the way you are saying my name, like as if like you know me, or like I don't know, like we're friends or something like that. You know,
Nachi, I hope I
Yeah.
haven't been being disrespectful calling you Nachi, and I'll change that.
Nachi, yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're
Nachi
all
is fine.
disrespecting
Nach
Nacho, so
or
we need
Nachi
to
is
we need to
fine.
correct ourselves, Nachi.
Okay.
That's
Nachi,
fine.
Nachiketa, whatever it is that you feel you want to be called. I just don't want to disrespect you, so you don't cry to Jack about your triggered issues.
Snafu. He just offered you answers. I want to hear if you heard. I heard two, and there's others I know, but what did he just offer was...
Well, it was a lot of people in chat. We were all discussing it. What should we call him?
Okay.
How do we pronounce it? Hooked on Phonics
Snafu.
isn't working.
Snafu, this is what I want you to please. If you're going to ask a question, listen for the answer. Unless you're not even hearing yourself ask the question.
There's a lot of emotion. The question is secondary. The emotion, he has to let some emotion out. That's what I would have been assuming.
Thank you, Joe. Hey, Snafu, please, we can all get along. Nachiketa, as I understand, he said Nachi.
Check him out. Look at that burger, bro.
That's what I'm trying to say. I was being respectful. I didn't know he fucking thought call Nacho or Nachi or Notch would be just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, that's what tripped me out.
Can we move on from this conversation? Because here's the thing.
Yes.
Here's the thing, Snafu. You have this tendency to loop. I made myself very clear. I don't think anybody here wants to be disrespected, and I think your intention wasn't to disrespect you. I think you gotten used to the fact that some people did call me Nacho, and sometimes I just let it go because I don't want to make a big deal out of it. But I don't want to make it a habit of people continuously calling me something that I'm not.
Respect.
That's fair. That's fair. I wish you would have just said that instead of crying to Jack earlier.
Okay.
I wasn't crying to Jack about it. I was actually talking to you about it. And
yes.
This is his channel. He got involved.
Thank you. Yes. Holy cows, man. Freaking humans, dude.
It's not an interesting subject at all. I mean, it's just like, let's, call each other the way we want to be called, and then let's move on to a conversation that's going to be productive.
2 seconds. Joe, cool. I prefer Nachi. Okay, great. Takes 2 seconds in a regular world. I don't understand all the other stuff.
You can accuse me that I'm butthurt, or you can accuse me of all kinds of things. That's fine. I don't care. But I would have to care about your opinions to like have that affect me anyway. So let's move on.
Actually, I'd like to, because the other part to why I wanted to address you, Joe, was after the stream, and looking at myself, I'm not proud of how I present myself sometimes, this situation or the facts, but they are what they are, and I'm honest. Regardless, the question was asked, what do we do? What do you want to do?
The soldiers to go out and do, and I think that's where you're going. Yeah.
I would like, I'm going to say it, speak freely, okay?
I prefer that.
I would like some help opening doors of communication. Not with people who I know, people who have larger and greater platforms.
Now, Jack, I'll make a deal with you. I know some really good and interesting people, but I would ask one thing, and I don't want this to turn the conversation. If I don't want to set these guys up or you ask for help because I think you're honorable, you deserve it. But if damn it, when y'all get down to the crux of the matter, if you tell these people, the way you got to help me first is to get involved in my family life and
No,
personal
no, no,
shit.
no, 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 no. This is a different direction.
All
This is a
right.
different direction. But it seems like I've had a tough time getting people to see the end goal or to understand what I'm saying. But we got to agree on a couple of things. If you have not learned something or understood something or experienced something, you don't know it, right?
And
If
generally
it's not,
speaking, I understand what you're saying. Yes, until it
if,
happens to you, you're not really familiar with it. It's like me talking about fucking what it's like to be a white man. I'm kind of estimating and guessing. I don't really know.
right. Well, and beyond that, there's a lot of things that have happened and that are known in this society that a lot of others don't. There's a lot of layers of knowledge, education, awareness. So I'm of the belief people don't know what they've not learned. Okay. So in the story of the Christ, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. That's where I start from, is they know not what they're doing.
Of course.
And so there's many people who are suffering in confusion, the confusion and the disease of selfishness.
Okay.
It's taken over their lives. And I believe we can resolve the confusion through conversations like adults, right? And so I want us to find ways to share these messages that it's time to change. It's time to end the wars. It's time to end the oppression, end the divisions, end the nonsense, end the insanity. That's what I want to share.
And the selfishness. Use the word that you just used. End the selfishness. I think that's what you were trying to say. We got to come up with ways to end the selfishness. I'm just throwing it in my head. Somebody else can go.
Please.
No, that's what's up. What's up, Jack? What's up, everybody? To the title of the stream, virtue, right?
I don't even know the title, to be honest. I just saw Jack and I come over. I don't even know what the title was.
Right. I think I might be coming out of left field with this one, but it's all gonna make sense.
I love left field.
I don't think virtue actually exists because it's a thought, right?
Okay.
And the only thing that exists is like a virtuous person.
I understand where you're going. I do.
So a lot of times, like what Jack was kind of saying, like we can get in confusion because we're in our heads in thought and we can't find a way to
define the undefinable.
Yeah, to put it into action and to actually, because that's our purpose, to be like the being, right? Not the thought or the idea. Well, it's a famous saying, I think therefore I am, or something like that. That's actually wrong, because it's like you have to be, like, just if you get stuck in thought, you know what I'm saying, you're not actually doing anything, and it's, you know what I'm saying.
Well, there's the other school of thought. I hate to disagree with you, because I totally agree with you. So I hate to say, but I think therefore I am. There's the other school of thought that what you really are is the thought. This human body, this matter system is just an illusion of some sort, and you really are what you think, and that shit. So maybe that's why the guy said, "If I can think, I exist." I am real. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. You were doing so well. I'm an idiot.
I get what you're saying, but I definitely understand that point too. The idea that we are thoughts. Our bodies is just a shell and all that kind of stuff.
Simulation or something.
So
yeah.
So I just want to add that I think these ideas, quote unquote, exist. Yes, they are kind of like in the ethereal of things, but they have to be actualized in the physical world. And I guess kind of I understand where you're coming. I understand where you're coming from, but like ideas matter. Philosophy matters in the sense that they give you a kind of a direction, a kind of a programming, and then whether you want to follow through on that, that's up to the individual to latch onto these ideas and say, hey, this is a great way of thinking. This is where like the stoicism come in. This idea of
Yes.
like, okay, like the philosopher king as an example. Like you can be indulging yourself and gratify all your desires, but is that virtuous, quote unquote? And obviously the answer is probably going to be no.
All right.
No, I'm with you. All this kind of came. I was actually helping my daughter with some homework yesterday, and she was like breaking down. It was like basic sentence structure. You know what I'm saying? And you had to have like the subject, and then you have to have a verb to tie with it, or
I
you're not
feel you.
even you don't even have a sentence. You're not even saying anything. You
All
know what I'm
right. So
saying?
the fact you, Jay, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you
So
again.
like I'm just saying, literally, like it has, if it's no action, you're not even saying anything. You get what I'm saying?
In
To
this world,
just separate it from and just say it's an idea and not tied with an action. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do. In this world, you have a great argument because we live in a world of material matter and tangible substances. So you didn't really put that thing into effect until you made the action. Otherwise, it was merely a thought. I think I understand exactly what you're saying. It didn't really exist until you, poof, touched it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
I was having a conversation about rights. I don't think it was here. And do they even exist? You guys got some opinions on that. My buddy was trying to convince me and did a good job convince me that they're not really a thing. Kind of like all you have is what you can hold on to. It was a really difficult conversation,
No,
man.
I bet it was. I kind of feel the same way because it's like everything that was like they say written in the Constitution are ideals. They're ideas. Freedom, does freedom really exist? It's a concept that we all try to live
Right,
up to. You know what
right.
I'm
If it
saying?
really exists, I mean,
Uh,
here come the dog. This dude be cracking me up, bro.
yeah, but like I said, it's an idea, and it's like America's like the experiment to try and reach those ideas, right?
I do. Humans, period, probably.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Is
I
that
guess
Chuck?
that's kind of our purpose.
Oh, that's
Is to
YouTube
kind of
with a
make
big
our. I
C.
think that's literally our purpose is to make our ideas and these concepts that we
Dope.
had the ability to come up with that no other animal on the planet has. We
To,
actually are able
but
to make them come into existence.
to become creators like our old man, like our relatives, who, you know what I'm saying? If you
Right,
are a
right, right.
child of God and all of that stuff, the old man is, just he's a drawer, he's an artist. He want to see you create as well.
For sure, for sure.
Uh, and how you create what you create. Are you going to create vulgar things or purposeless things? Or are you going to fucking create things that sturdy emotion? That's art, bro.
Amen. God-given rights can't be taken away, but they sure as hell can be given away. They can be
That's dope.
sold. They can be, acquiesced. And then God's rights are many, man. Freedom is our birthright. Freedom is our essence. We were made in the image of our creator, the
I
divine freedom.
I couldn't prove that, but that is my belief as well, that freedom is your birthright. But I couldn't find the words to prove it to this dude.
Hmm.
He's like, freedom's this dog. He's like, freedom's a concept. Can you point to it? Can you, when does it come into play and all of that stuff? Is it
It's a it's
reliable?
a ab, it's an abstract thought. It's a difference
Yeah,
between abstract thoughts and concrete thoughts. It's a
How
difference
do you
between a
how do you
chair
define
and
freedom,
freedom. Yeah,
right? Like in the laws of karma, as an example, you're born, and as soon as you're born, you're already bound to the laws of nature,
yes.
right? You need water, you need food, you need to go through the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, et cetera, et cetera. So like it's Like, what freedom is there? You can't just levitate if you want to levitate. You know, you can, maybe some people can fast for 10 days. There are rare examples of that, but vast majority of people cannot. So you don't have that freedom, right?
Hey,
So there are limitations to your freedom per se. So what is this concept of freedom? Go ahead.
Some of those things came up in
needs,
the conversation too. A couple of them, karma and something else. Those came up. And I'm with you. Go ahead, Jack.
needs,
Go ahead, Jack.
needs, freedom, all these things of life, they are just perspectives, right?
So they're not real.
Well,
They're subjective. They're definitely
right.
subjective.
Well,
Now, are they? You need food and water.
Hold on. Well, hey, hold on. That's what I'm trying to fucking say. In the back chat in that video that Snafu shared with me, there's this dude on there who has allegedly been studied and verified. He's gone decades without food and water. So you know what? I don't know.
Wait, my ass. Wait.
Well, let's assume that's true.
Verified? No, that's
no.
not.
Well, even if it's true, that, you know, and maybe such people do exist to kind of demonstrate to us that, you know, we are very much capable, you know, maybe we have the power, quote unquote, to be able to do such things. But, you know, that individual who has existed for decades without food and water is like one in what, a billion? You know?
Sure, but it only starts with one. It starts with one to show the others that this can be achieved in different ways. And the whole reason this came up was needs and rights.
The concept of freedom.
We don't have rights. We have God-given privileges of life.
That's what he called them, privileges. Yeah, privileges, I think. Privileges in another word. That dog.
Someone else commented that rights are a man-made concept. And all of these things, all of these barriers and language, all these laws and rules, how do we know they apply to us? How do we know? Says who? We don't know shit until we try it. And
really, dog.
And we should be trying to do the things we want, right?
Dog it.
Joe, you're killing me, man.
I'm sorry, I lost you. The dog laid on the phone, man. My bad.
Jack, what do you think about this phrase, do what thou wilt? Have you ever heard of that?
Okay.
Yes.
Let's discuss that. Yes.
That's, what was his name?
Aleister Crowley.
Aleister Crowley. He also said the law is love. And I believe those words are true. We are here to do as we will. God will serve. The world, I believe the energies, despite what man has structured for us, I believe the laws of creation are there to serve us. That we are here to do good, to do righteous.
Want to do bad? Do I still get to do as I want?
Sure.
What if I want to take your shit? Do I still get to do as I want? Okay.
Yep. That's the whole point of this. That's actually what brings us back around. Actually, the whole thing I realized for myself. These ideas of freedom and imprisoned, they're worthy of thinking about, right? What do those words mean to each of you? What I came to realize for myself is by God's grace, I am today. I am where I am, how I am, who I am, by the grace of God. And it's brought me to today. As far as I can tell for this world, and it's a pretty big damn world. I've spent a lot of time on airplanes, traveling, across oceans and shit. It's a big world we live on. And this whole world is created for us to explore, to discover.
And do evil shit and take my neighbor's shit, apparently.
Hey, we can all do what we want.
That's
And people will get away with what the others allow them to get away with. And here, this brings us back to the point too of what I hope to do on YouTube. God bless you, Joe. I would love some support from anyone who might be willing to help entertain these ideas of helping me get on some bigger platforms. I want with the goal of trying to gain public support for the purpose of steps, right? So step one, reach greater platforms, greater audience, more support for the purpose of the next step, get in front of legislators or wealthy individuals who can help open the door to conversations and discussions. So bring the knowledge here from the virtual realm into the boardrooms, meeting rooms, whatever.
I mean, that's a great idea. It's just, in my humble opinion, I think it's good to be very structured. At least this is the way I approach it. To be very, be very structured in your presentment. How you're going to present, so it's logical, it makes sense, and I think you have a lot of emotional content, Jack. So if you can, alchemize these ideas and bring them together, and maybe it'll be more palatable for the public. I don't know. I'm not claiming that will be the case, but at least in my opinion, if it's well structured,
I can see it as a succeeding that way too. Logically.
Yeah, and also, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I feel that too. I just kind of came here not too long ago, and like I said, I saw you on a different panel that was completely different than the circle that you're in right now, right? But you came there and you were, what I'm saying, it was peace and love and everything, you know what I'm saying? But I will say this, I'm proud of you for the last week or so, because it's like your panel just kind of changed to where it's like you got more control of it, and it's actually kind of staying on subject more and stuff. Because when I first got here, it was like, what the hell is
anybody
this?
can come in here, just disrupt shit, right?
It was just like, what the hell is this? You know what I'm saying? So I see the growth, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
If we're done on, therefore, I would like to go back to is this do as thou wilt world. The only way I could rationalize that is if we're talking about the ascended guy does as he wants, because what he will want will be in line with what I think the Father wants in nature and all of those things. I don't think the rules allow me to just hurt other people, blah, blah. I mean, I realize I can, but I don't think that's where it's at and what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, like the statement is,
don't break natural law.
That's the thing, that statement is only half true in the sense that do whatever you want, but there are consequences. Yeah. Right? There are always consequences to things. And people say, well, there are rich people and they've done all kinds of horrible things, and they've died. But of course, like if you believe in God and the natural law of things, that there's still going to be consequences, because this body isn't the only existence that we have to worry about, obviously.
So the other side's argument, and I don't know it well, but I think it goes something like, there is no sin unless that which you make sin, unless you believe it's sin. And that extends to everything. You can see it working in its simple sense. I think I wronged Jack, over some dumb shit. And it was only a sin because I thought it was. It was really not a harmful thing. Or they might think that you can murder motherfuckers and do horrible shit like that. There is no fucking sin.
There's Jack. Some truth to that. No, go ahead. There is some truth to it in a sense that you believe whatever you want to believe, but that doesn't necessarily represent quote unquote the ultimate reality of things. But go ahead, Jack.
I believe we are. Do as thou wilt. We are here to express ourselves and to do as we want. And but this realm we live in, it is a phenomenal plane that emerges from cause and effect. Cause and effect are inseparable, and there is a rhythm, there's an exchange. You do bad, you are going to get a repercussion,
Really?
because there's spiritual principles to the energies of creation. I am confident of that. Can I prove that? Maybe through
Okay.
explanation.
What about the guy, the Nazi dude, killed all those people, got rich, escaped the Americans, and died wealthy in Italy under a different name? Doesn't look like he got his comeuppance.
Possibly, but when we do harm, one of the things, whether they may have been internally suffering through fear and anxiety and actually living in absolute hell on
Excuse me.
earth while
Yeah.
the appearance is nice.
It's true. It's feasible, yeah.
And then there's also, who knows what's going to happen beyond this life form.
That's a better argument. The fact that some guy didn't catch him is damn near not even relevant to the subject. If it's you don't get away with it, you're fucking with the laws of nature. Nature will get you. Nature exists here, there, and everywhere at all times. You could get it. Technically, you could get it for something you haven't even done yet. If time is not a real thing, I could get my karma today for some shit I'm gonna do next year. If you think about it.
Amen. And so regardless of what it is, karma is the reaction, right? If you take those concepts of rebirth and reforming, that is reaction until the lessons are learned. It's when we overcome our reactions, when we develop our through emotional development and spiritual commitment, devotion. I encourage you guys, seriously.
It sounds, Jack, like you have a bit of hypocrisy here. The doest thou will thing seems to contradict with we are supposed to be aligning ourselves with nature thing.
Bringing me back on topic. Thank you, Joe. Here's the world we live in. It was formed by men and women who did what they wanted. Right?
Agreed. Yes.
The industrialist hired the working class. The people performed their duties. Everyone's been doing what they've wanted. But especially in these groups that I've been talking to, you guys all know with all the friggin' lies and deception, much of them. So people are doing things because they think they want, not because that's what their spirit wants them. It's not what their soul wants them to do. It's not what their inner child wants them to do. It's
predominantly it's programming. It's manufactured consent, and like actually when you really break it down, like people really don't know what they want. Is the what we've been given is like let's say Walmart or stuff like that, like, and then Walmart's great because it's cheaper, but all those products have to be made in China and shipped over, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of nuances to the economic formula that we have found ourselves in, but like ultimately people want cheaper and better things, right, at a higher quality, but there's still costs to all those things. Somebody has to do it, right? So you have to ship your manufacturing to overseas, so people are earning 1/10 of what they can be, what they can earn in like first world countries.
Don't you think we should change that?
There's
I think
another
there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things we should change, but go ahead.
Apparently, there's another aspect to that too that Walmart has been guilty of. Not only do they ship these jobs overseas to be cheaper, but another way that they keep shit cheap is when they find someone with a new idea, they tell them to sign under some really ridiculous rules, and if they don't, they make the same thing, even at a loss, cheaper to put that person out of business. Then they can charge what they want. So a lot of
like the great value version.
A lot of inventors have stories of how they sat in that room and they were pressured to sign a contract that was totally unfair. And if they said no, and a lot of them did, Walmart put them out of business anyway by making the same thing with a glossy package. It's a business model. Great.
It's a business
Thank you.
model, and it's about control.
That is exactly what we need to confront and address as fellow citizens and communities, because these business models of exploitation, of outsourcing, and it is filled with corruption. And the corruption, it's so fucking obvious. It's just hidden behind all these loopholes of authority and bureaucracy and nonsense.
And Dominic, have you been listening?
Go ahead.
You're muted, Dominic. Have you been listening? Okay. All right. I was just going to crack a dumb joke.
So
anyway.
it's just one tiny example. It's just like not even a tip of the iceberg of what's happening in the world in terms of conspiracies. I mean, I think most everybody here is probably familiar with the economic hitman, right? And he worked for the CIA and he went to South America, and basically, they were offering the leaders of these countries, either you're gonna get the carrot or the stick.
I didn't know there was one guy. I've heard a bunch of those stories. I didn't know it was one guy called an economic hitman.
No, the economic hitman was.
Millions are dying because people are doing their fucking jobs, right? This economic hitman, the United States is responsible for most of the civil disruption outside of our borders. Right?
Inside out, but all the immigrants, it's because we went over there and overthrew their ruler and the cartel took over. Yes. We're responsible for the shit here too.
Yes. All the migrants coming in is because the American corporations and the government decide to fuck up their homelands.
Yeah, I mean, took down their ruler and instituted someone who would be friendlier to us.
All right. Hey, I feel like go ahead. Go ahead, Jack.
I wanted to address this, but if you're still on topic, Jay.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Billy Hicks, I love this comment, the concept. The only God-given right we have is to create what we choose through free will from the greater creation of all that which God already created for us.
All right, I dig it. And is it true? The only God-given right we have is to create. Is that true? Is that factual?
I love that. I think it's true. We can create harmony. We can create disruption. We can create abundance. We can create scarcity. We can create health. We can create toxicity. We are co-creators in this adventure.
And it's a right, whatever the hell that is.
And I think that ties back into what I was saying earlier. Literally what I was saying earlier is creation. Taking your idea and bringing it into the real world. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all are saying, whether it's good or bad, that's your right. That's your purpose, literally. Not even your right. That's your purpose as a human being, to take what's in your mind and bring it out into the real world.
I like purpose better than right, and I'm still unsure what a right is.
Beyond rights, because I would consider that a man-made concept. We have what is a right? It's a freedom. It is an opportunity. And with an opportunity, it's a responsibility. And, with responsibility comes the accountability. A right is a duty.
It's an obligation. When you hear right, replace it with responsibility. He said 4 words. Replace it immediately with responsibility, so and so. And I was like, I'm high. I'll never remember these 4 words, but responsibility was one of them. He would agree with you. Right is not what it is. It's really a responsibility. He'd agree with you.
Well, is it man-made or is it God-given? Right.
Very good. Very good, Nachi.
If you take the absolute, in the end, all is created by God, through God, with God, for God. We just happen to be the participants and the narrators of that which we can create and discover together.
Yeah, we are all. I like that aspect of it too. That we are it's like a web. We think we're individuals, but I don't know what the guy did that got me here to meet you. I don't even appreciate all the intricacies. I love that shit.
Amen. Yeah. When I go ahead,
sorry.
in my experience, when I started really trying to be mindful about my choices, being deliberate about my purchases, what I was eating, I spent a lot of time thinking about where things came from. How many
Okay.
people were actually involved in my sustenance, in
Yeah.
my day-to-day cleansing and happiness, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, faces I don't know. I've never met them.
I saw a chick who was giving some guys, is a very famous short, popular. You guys probably saw it, giving some guy shit. He ran a farm or something. Or maybe it was on a talk show or something. That was Piers Morgan, maybe. But she was giving him shit about eating steak. And in the pipeline with the steak, and he's like, "I'm sorry, ain't you the girl who's eating avocado salad earlier? Do you know that those avocados where they had to fly from because they're not in season? All the jet fuel and all the people that were put to work over here doing that shit, and
Yep.
like your choice is no fucking better, Miss Iron.
That's what I don't think people realize. Like, I like when I was vegan at one point, and I had to realize that I'm going to the store getting avocados in fucking January and February, and I'm getting
It's not
okra
logical. Your
in
body would
January and February. Like that's not even, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying, natural.
Nature
Um,
would have told you that's probably not what you should be doing, right? If we
right,
just
right,
could listen.
because it don't even exist. Yep.
When we start paying attention, and here it is my goal, my belief that you know i I think before my adventure ends, before my life ends, we're going to have a totally different world than what has been in the past. And I think it'll become easier for people to be more in tune with the local crops that are near them.
Oh,
And I think in the future we're gonna put some emphasis on trying to help support the organic harvesting and growth of our food, so that we can bring more nourishment into everyone.
I don't want to be that half glass empty guy. But you're already, I don't know, we'll give you 50 years old, and you say in your lifetime, uh, uh, don't do or do you believe? I don't know, but it seems like it's just going to get worse before it gets better. Don't you think the chip and no man can buy or sell goods unless he goes through so and so, gets to market the beast? Doesn't all that shit have to occur? Then we learn to be in tune with nature. Aren't we for a rough ride still? And I don't want to be bringing shit into existence thinking fucked up shit.
We are each on
So
the ride.
Can't skip
yeah,
steps. We
Go
can't
ahead.
skip.
what I like to think about is that, like, why? I mean, these are all good suggestions. Like everything you've said, I agree with, Jack, and I think we should move as humanity in that direction. But why have we not achieved that? Like we're not the only ones who can think this way. I don't think so. There are many other people
No, you're right.
who have also thought along the lines of, like, hey, let's make humanity better. Let's
And
benefit
wars.
humanity, and and wars and stuff like that. And I would dare say that vast majority of people don't want to pick up a gun and kill some stranger just because they're of certain color or religion or creed or whatnot.
Agreed.
It's just that that they were forced to do so. But even like they're like North Korea and South Korea, they're people of the same language, same race, and even same religion, but they killed each other, over a period of time as well.
Yeah.
But the question is, like, how has these manipulations have become successful, and why does it continue to persist? Right. I think
Yes.
these are the questions that we need to answer in order to be
All
able to
right.
solve that problem.
Let me back up Nachi. He's got a great point. Throughout the history of mankind, men greater than us has pondered this same exact things. The philosophers talked about it. The rich or the monarchy are corrupt, and they shit on a little guy. How do we change their corrupt rules and laws? This isn't a new thing. I'm sorry, I forgot the last part, but I'm with Nachi on whatever the fuck he said.
Yeah.
Well, what has predominated? The answers to that question are they're obvious, absolutely obvious. And the truth is usually obvious. It's just a matter of the willingness to accept. So the answer to the question of why has all this happened, it's been the disease of selfishness. People think they think they're preserving themselves by their compliance and obedience of what those in power want them to do. You brought up North and South Korea. That breaks my heart. I don't know personally, but as I understand, there's families, that haven't seen each other, heard from each other in a long time, and God only knows what's going on.
Well, not so much anymore, since it's been about 70 some years since.
That would have been my
true.
thought. Yeah.
True. Most of them have died by now, but
Hey, Jack, kind of to one of your earlier points, like you were talking, I think was it you or Joe that was talking about Walmart and how they kind of take your ideas if they give you a contract, something like that.
That was me. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I know a couple people who went to like inventions, who've had inventions and tried to go to China and take their ideas over there, and basically the same thing happened.
Same shit happened to get ripped off.
So were they wrong for ripping everybody else off and doing what's best for the group of people that they agree to? Because that's kind of what you're saying is like, it's like the corporation is the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
The Walmart or whatever it is. But what if it's the actual people and their government and their way of thinking, and they choose to rip everybody off and steal their ideas and stuff like that? Is that really a bad thing?
the bad thing is the systems that allow that to happen, because they can say, well, this is legal, we're just doing business, it's agreed upon, right? It is bullshit negotiation. And then then I love this, well, no, there's no renegotiating a contract. Bullshit. You know what? Things change, people change, dynamics change, we can change. And I don't blame, honestly, I think China is, you know what? Give it up to God. The history of humanity is a beautiful story for us to learn from. And I see China, they held off for quite a while with their imperialist ideas, trying to stay out of the capitalist market after being infiltrated by the Indian Trading Company, introducing, supporting all the flooding their nation with drugs. I can understand the mindset of the nation wanting to shut down, and then seeing capitalism rise with all these innovations and stuff. They were paying attention. So China now globally is doing the same tactics that America and the other colonialist nations have been doing, except they're not doing it as violently. They learned from the US. They're doing all of this. China learned how to use its people and its collective power to enter the global capitalist market, and they're growing to dominate it.
Yeah, they getting better than everybody else at it.
Yeah, so the way I look at it is that as long as people can be manipulated, they will be manipulated, unless those people are being protected by like a king or a group of people who see the manipulation for what it is and protect their own people. But as long as that manipulation or the possibility of that manipulation exists, it will be done, no matter if it's Americans or Europeans or Chinese. Anybody who is going to be duped, they will be duped, because there are people who will always, because there will always be people who is willing to go there to gain quote unquote power or money or status. It doesn't matter.
In China right now, and I tell you guys, this will be over here. They already have, they say they have 100% of their population covered with cameras. So I'm sure there's places in the woods where not supposed to be populated, and they have a better technology, just our facial shit. They have gait technology where they can tell how you walk and all of that bullshit.
Yeah.
So if you jaywalk in China, they determine who you are. They send a ticket, a fine to your house and deduct it from your bank account. With no fucking recourse as a judge, it's shit like that.
It's a social credit system. I mean, it's a complete social.
That's
Yeah,
where I
and
was
then they
going.
have this app on their phone. Because most everybody has like a smartphone these days. It's called like WeChat, right? And you can do everything on there. It's a social media thing, but it's like PayPal, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, Twitter, all of it combined, right? And then if your social credit score goes down, they can shut off your ability to pay for things.
They
You might not even be able to get on a bus or a
if you
train.
if you jaywalk too many times, you can no longer use public transportation. You can no longer buy a certain food.
Yeah, it's very
All of
effective
this,
means of control.
right. And all of this happens because the masses and that enable it. So there's many citizens, many of our brothers and sisters in these nations and abroad that don't actually know. They don't know what we know. They don't know, like in China, I don't know what they know, but, or North Korea, how much do they know about their oppression? How much have they learned about the rest of the world and what is really true? Who knows? But
Well, not much.
here in America, in the land of the quote unquote free, well, if we can do what we want, if that is the law of life, do as thou wilt, what I've decided for myself, and I'm encouraging you guys, please consider this, incorporating your inner spirit. Like Shunyamurti said, do you want to know God in this life? Ask yourself that question and then make a commitment.
Who are you talking to? Certainly not us on the panel. This
Anyone
conversation
who's
has left
listening.
us. All right.
Anyone who's listening.
You said I would like to encourage you guys, put God into your plan and get to know you in the spirit. We do that shit regularly, like you do.
Many do, but there's others I know that they do not. But
yes.
Here, so many people may want more God in their life, but they don't know. They don't know where to turn. The churches, the religions, what do you do? Where do you turn? Increase your self-worth. Start doing things that are virtuous, moral, righteous. Start increasing your own value of yourself. Start learning and overcoming. Grow past the things that held you back.
So Jack, like I said earlier, that's what I believe, but I feel like a virtuous person exists, right? So can we describe the attributes of a virtuous person? I feel like that's on topic, and that would be something that everybody could leave here with, and to make instead of it just being a conversation. You know what I'm saying? What are the attributes of a virtuous person so that we can all leave here and be virtuous? If that's the title of the show, how can we all leave here being virtuous at the end of this?
Virtue came up. It was along the discussion of the inner spirit, and that I believe our soul sings for virtue. It wants virtue. It yearns virtue. Our soul yearns to grow and to serve that which is, because that which is all of the world, it's divinely created, manifested into form just for you. And every one of our paths are different. So what is virtuous? Yeah. Honestly, in my definitions, the way I see the Christ, his choices, his sacrifices to obey, to take what was given to him and to offer mercy and forgiveness, he was selfless in his choices. He wasn't running around getting people to, glorify his name. He was going town to town, dedicating his time and energy as a teacher, as a servant, as a healer for us to learn from. So the answer of the question, and with the topic of this, is the disease of selfishness. We each have the choice, moment by moment throughout the days of our lives, as choices and options come into our mind. We have the option to be selfless and giving and generous and honest and forthright, or we can find an excuse, blame a condition, and say, no, I can't give. No, I can't forgive. No, I can't.
I'm gonna Google virtue, man, because if there was a longer way to explain that, I don't know what it is. I did hear some things in there that virtue are is hard to remember. From selfishness was selflessness, whatever, and you named two more.
I think virtue.
It's the standard
and,
of morality, basically.
yeah, I think, and even I think standards of morality, they're hard to get to without a system. You know, it's not really an idea. It's like a system that you have to put yourself in so that you know how to operate, you know which boundaries you're overstepping and stuff like that. Um, I think, and I think that's hard for everybody. I mean, I'm sure everybody here is um, abreast to different spiritual beliefs and different systems, you know, but if you're
All
not
right, I
actively,
get virtue now. I get it.
go ahead and read it. Go ahead.
The other one, give me the other one. You just had that one was cool. Uh, Virtue is the quality of being. The virtue comes from. No, that is not what you just had up there.
I think that was the other one.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Virtues. I'm paraphrasing here. Character traits that enable us to pursue the ideals we have adopted, like honesty, courage, compassion, generosity, blah blah blahs. These things allow us to pursue the ideals we have adopted. They're virtuous, meaning they're an asset, because they allow us to pursue our moral.
Can we go back to the first example? Because it actually was like it actualized it because everything he
It
just
said morally
read,
good. Yeah, it said morally.
yeah, everything that he just read, it was literally ideas, and he just starts saying blah 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 because it's just thoughts that we can't you know what I'm saying, put to concrete and say this is what it is. You
No,
know,
that's not why I said blah blah blah.
no,
Because
well that's what I said. I said, you
I
know what I'm
got you.
saying. I'll
The
take credit
reason
for that.
I got you, my man. The reason I said blah 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 because I wanted to lock in. I didn't want to be named them and lock in on that. I thought that was a mistake. I wanted to lock in on it is an asset that helps you reach morality. So I didn't want to be confused.
I think this is good. It says the quality of being. That's the key word
Yeah.
in all of this is the being part.
And
So you have to understand the being part is the action and then the morally good. Everybody can argue and dispute what morally good is, but you can find whatever, like I said, it has to go back to a system where you can actually quantify what morally good is.
I
It's
would
a lot of people.
disagree with this definition.
well, I
The
like
Well,
at the end here too. It says at first virtue meant manliness or valor. You know, and
it's,
we've got our own ideas of what those mean, but
Yeah, those
I
are
like the idea
those
of
are
it's all
abstract
based
thoughts.
on values, right? Like,
sense
you know, we
of
have
moral
these
ethics.
definitions of what we consider to be of good value or bad value, or of good behavior or bad behavior. But it falls under some kind of a system, and yet you can kind of say, well, it's kind of, you know, random, or, you know, it's just, you know, based on perspective. But generally, for the most part, I hear somebody speaking. I don't know who wants to say something.
yeah. If it wasn't me, I'll mute. Or maybe you heard my background or something.
So what I'm saying is that these are not some abstract concepts. These are concepts that we more or less agree with. I mean, you can get into the philosophical aspects of, you know, what a quote unquote virtue is or what a vice is, but for the most part, it's been pretty much categorized, and most people pretty much agree with it. And I think,
In our head, yeah. Some pops in our head, yeah.
yeah,
No, I
and
think
Sarah in the chat pretty much laid down some of the good points of you know, what the virtues and vices, and, you know, we can dive into why they may be virtues or vices, but for the most part, I think we can agree that they are virtues and vices.
All right, I'm looking for Sarah's comment.
Virtues. chastity, serenity, altruism, benevolence, delayed gratification, caregiving, sincerity, charity, joy, objectivity, trust, integrity, diligence, faith, attentiveness, and loyalty. Right?
This is why I disagree with the definition of a virtue as being a state of being. Even if I haven't achieved it, I recognize that it's over there and it's still a virtue. I haven't achieved it, and so I'm not in that state of being, but virtue still is a thing. So
ideas can be agreed upon. I get what you're saying. Like even
Yeah,
if they haven't
and they
come into
must
the
be.
real world. Okay.
In
I
order
can
to
see that. I
take
can see
action,
that.
we have to come to an agreement about the values that we have. Once we establish the values that we have, like I agree with Jack about like we should be less selfish. I'm just playing a devil's advocate about what that means, so that we can kind of make it explainable. We can explain what we mean, and get people on the same page about things. But
I
like
think
we have.
like that. Yeah.
We have individuals like Jesus figure. I consider him like an archetype. I believe he actually existed also, but like let's call him an archetype. It's a kind of an extreme example of what human being, a perfect individual can be. Right? We need an example. It's like we need like a template of that. Just because Jesus existed, and we may not be 100% like Jesus. That doesn't mean we can't strive towards that example, right?
Well, here, let me jump in here, because this is exactly one of the confusions I want to help overcome. This nonsense of we're not like Jesus. We have different experiences, we have different educations, but what Jesus demonstrated, the more I'm living, the more I believe that I am following the way that he taught, prayer, faith, service, pure thoughts, the more I'm doing that, the more I actually believe this is the natural state we're supposed to be in. We're not supposed to be in fucking fear, depression, anxiety. We're not supposed to be living in lack. We're not supposed to be living in poverty or disease.
Not supposed to be living in excess, apparently, either. Right? I've tried to excess, and I wasn't as peaceful as I am now when I desire a lot less.
Okay, so
praise God.
Jesus said that whatever I can do, you can do, kind of deal. And I think he's being very generous and humble when he is saying that, because even if he is a perfected being, let's say, he needs to encourage humanity to bring them to his level. But from my personal perspective, and I'm not going to speak about it for anybody else, but from my personal perspective, I would say that I am nowhere near like Jesus at all. So that's just me. But other people are more than welcome to believe that they are like
Closer.
Jesus or very much closer. That's fine. That's not for me to judge.
Hey, I am a type who likes to challenge conclusions. So what convinces you that you're so far apart? What prevents you from being more like he?
I think the pursuit makes you closer.
Well,
the pursuit.
Okay, go ahead.
I think the pursuit is the whole point of it. It is the idea of God. The idea of God, actually is what drives people to strive towards perfection.
I want to make sure you guys
can clean that mess up.
I want to make sure you guys disagree first. I think Nachi is saying that if Jesus is a high end Bugatti, fine tuned by all the best professionals, you are a lug nut. I think that's what Nachi's is saying. I would agree. We are part of a car, but we are so far apart. Agreed. We're on the car and we're making progress, and it's a big part of being Jesus. But I think me and Nachi put ourselves as the radial tires. We're not even the engine yet. And do you guys agree with that? Or you think, man, I at least got a Benz?
No. I feel like the whole point of it even Jesus said in his own words, is like, you know, all these miracles and stuff that I've done, you can do them the same way that I'm doing. You
Right.
know, literally the whole New Testament, they refer to Jesus as the Son of Man instead of the Son of God, as they
Yeah.
did in the Old Testament. I
Right.
feel like that was intentional to literally refer to him as a. It's like if you really listen to the story he told, it's like I'm not better than you. I'm not more
He's
special
the
than you, but
servant. I get Son of
I'm
Man. I
setting an
get it.
example for you to follow. And
Yes.
I feel like a lot of
He
times
was
people
being
miss that.
humble, you know. And the thing is, I have never demonstrated any kind of miracles. I have no following, as an example, so I don't compare myself to Jesus at all. I look up to Jesus and
Same.
other enlightened beings being above me and being quote unquote better than me in a subjective sense. But again, you know, other people can feel that they're closer to Jesus just because they strive, quote unquote, you know, to
That
achieve the
was your
perfection
original
that.
point. Very good. That was your original point. Very good.
I feel like everybody like I feel like the Bible has a lot of parables, and I feel like literally everybody on this panel has literally raised somebody from the dead.
Yes.
It was somebody that had a dead mindset, literally
Yeah.
walking around as a zombie, and you were able to talk to them and imprint something in their lives, you know,
Yeah.
to change them and wake them up and bring them back to life.
I just
You know
did
what
a
I'm saying?
video
So
about
I feel
that.
like
The people who
that's what.
woke me up, right?
Yeah.
The people who brought me from the dead. I'm with you.
That's right. Hey, I love you guys. I'm feeling I want to wrap this up. I've
All right,
enjoyed
Kevin.
these conversations. I
Jack,
truly
you
do.
always walk out the party when it start getting when the party start popping. You get ready to walk out every day, man. It's
I
Again,
cool.
yeah.
know. I
Where's
know.
Flo? Where's Flo when you need him, right?
Hey,
That's what I was thinking. When's the next panel? I still got another 2 hours to drive.
oh
Yeah.
God.
All
Um,
right. You leaving?
well, while the sun is still out, I mentioned there's things going on in the community.
Hey, you
I'd like
got
to get out and
okay.
try and participate.
I feel you,
Um,
Jack. Leave us alone. We
Do
gonna
your
be here
thing,
tomorrow.
Jack. All right with you, man. It's been great. Love you cats, man. You're the greatest.
hey, seriously, respect to all of you. Thank you. J Hub, I'm going to toss you to the back. I want to thank you though for joining. Nachiketa, you as well. I'm going to allow. I was going to allow Dominic and Jesse a moment. They haven't. You've been listening, but anything to add, brother?
No, just was listening. Good conversation. Keep at what you're doing. You're making a difference every single day. Every single heart that we touch, we do make a difference, whether we see it or not. So, have an awesome evening. Have fun tonight, and we'll see you next time we see you. May the source be with
Respect.
you.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to double check I'm right. As I understood, the missing link got struck, but you're doing your interviews on the High Vibe Love Tribe now.
Yeah, so we always go live on 6 different platforms, and one is YouTube. So we had 3 channels deleted, and then we didn't go on YouTube for like 8 or 9 months, and then we used our alternative channel while we were building the Missing Link Live. The Missing Link Live just got its second strike for Max Egan for medical misinformation. I appealed it, and they said no. I don't even remember us talking about anything medical, but it got its second strike. So for 2 weeks, we can't go live there. So we're going live on YouTube, but we're still live on the other 5 platforms that we are on. But we're going to be doing interviews on the High Vibe Love Tribe in the meantime.
Hey, fabulous. You see this, Jesse? There you go. Panel on free will over on Machine Lives. If you want, I'll find the link and I'll drop it in the back for you if you want.
Awesome.
Brothers and sisters, to all those who joined the panel again today and to the chat, bless you sincerely. Thank you for being a part of this experience of this day. You know, I used to take the days for granted, never really stopping to appreciate the opportunity of what is right now. Because right now is today, brothers and sisters, and it is. Tesla said it, Einstein said it. There's many physicists and scientists, and it makes sense. Life, this universe, all that we experience, it is energies and vibrations, frequencies, intensities. It is subtleties and harmonics. It is life is a mystical phenomenon that we have been graced with the opportunity to experience. And it's really easy in this society that teaches selfishness, right? It's rewarded. I was selfish, and I admit it. I'm not proud of my mistakes. I admit my mistakes, hoping others may learn from them. One of the biggest selfish things that I did, and it's so obvious, my booze, my drinking, my poisoned and toxic negative thoughts that held me back. The people who loved me, they didn't want to see me sick. God, and I just didn't seem to care. I didn't give a fuck what they wanted. I wanted my booze. I needed my booze. I wasn't a dick about it, but I was selfish. And brothers and sisters, learn from this mistake. Don't wake up one day and see things change, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh shit, I loved them. I loved that. You know, start appreciating the moments of your day a little bit more each day, please. Especially the people you know, the relationships that you have that have been allowed by you and by others. Really stop to find some joy and appreciation, because that, I believe, the topic discussing the inner spirit and the disease of selfishness. If you want to increase your self-worth, the way you feel about yourself within yourself, go find a problem outside of you. Go help someone who's unrelated to your life, maybe a stranger. Go find an organization and see how you can share your talents, your resources, your energy. Do something to help someone and you will feel better. It's almost a guarantee. As long as you do your service and your efforts with the heart of a servant, with some humility, with some graciousness, that you're able to help improve the life of someone else. If you're able to carry that desire within you as you go through your day peacefully, lovingly, joyfully, gratefully, as you go through your day like that, moment by moment from now on, just do that. Just make that commitment to yourself. From now on, I'm going to do better. I'm going to be more loving, more kind, more honorable, more good, whatever it means to you. And then have faith in the divine forces that that's what they want. Trust that the angels and the creator of this realm wants you to shine, wants the world to be grateful for your life. Start with you. Become grateful for your life. Become grateful for you. And brothers and sisters, sincerely, thank you. I am hoping for hope. I am hoping to grow. If any of you do resonate, feel some inspiration and want to try and help, I believe that if I can, I don't want to disrespect or cause offense to anyone who's been here so supportive, but if I can reach greater platforms and have some, discussions about some ideas, trying to help reach greater people, the goal is to bring some authenticity to me as a messenger, or at least the idea. Maybe find someone who speaks better than me and encourage them. Carry these ideas forward, right? These greater platforms, get these messages out. Let's create a better world forever for all of us. Let's stop holding ourselves back. Let's stop holding each other back. Let's stop letting limits, Like, you know what? Praise God. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Have a joyful evening. And I'm playing the weekend loosely. I may or may not return tomorrow. If I do, I pray you join me. Thank you again, brothers and sisters. Till next time, peace for everyone. Choose love and live without fear.